The blue-green orb of Earth rotated slowly on the main view screen. Tai Min stared at it, mesmerized by the swirling white clouds and churning oceans. His three-fingered hand tapped a series of commands, magnifying a particularly violent storm system raging across a landmass. Recording storm pattern Alpha 79 for the weekly report, he said, his voice calm despite the destruction unfolding below. Jun-Ho glanced up from his workstation. Third major storm this week. The intensity keeps increasing. Climate variables are becoming less predictable. Their observation post hung silent and invisible in Earth's orbit, shielded by technology the humans couldn't detect. The station was small but efficient, staffed by just the two of them for this 6-month rotation. "Look at them," Tai Min said, zooming the camera toward a coastal city partially submerged in floodwaters. Tiny vehicles moved through the water, while flying craft buzzed overhead dropping supplies. They don't evacuate. They adapt and rebuild. Again and again. Jun-Ho brushed his blue-tinged hair from his eyes. The Council still doesn't understand them, even after centuries of observation. The Galactic Council had classified Earth as a Class 12 Deathworld over 800 years ago. The designation wasn't made lightly. Class 12 meant a planet with multiple extinction-level threats, extreme weather patterns, dangerous predators, unpredictable geological activity, and a biosphere filled with pathogens. Most Council species would die within hours of exposure to Earth's raw environment. "Remember the report from last year's polar expedition team?" Tai Min said. The humans were camping, in temperatures that would freeze a Regelian solid. "For fun," Jun-Ho added, shaking his head. "They do it for recreation." Tai Min turned back to his screen, focusing on a different region. Humans were battling a massive wildfire, standing near flames that would melt the protective skin of a Council firefighting unit. Their primitive protective gear seemed woefully inadequate, yet they pressed forward. The classification committee never expected them to achieve space travel, Jun-Ho said. The assumption was that they would destroy themselves long before developing advanced technology. It was a reasonable assumption. Most sapient species evolved on gentle worlds with stable climates and few natural predators. This allowed them to develop culture, art, and technology without constantly fighting for survival. Deathworld species typically remained aggressive and self-destructive, their energies consumed by the constant battle against their environments. Tai Min pulled up historical footage. Humans had indeed nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. Wars, environmental disasters, plagues, they had faced extinction repeatedly. "But they always pull back from the edge," Tai Min murmured. "They fight. They adapt. They survive." The station's alert system pinged softly. Jun-Ho checked the notification. Human long-range telescopes are scanning this sector again. They're getting closer to detecting us. Their technology is advancing faster than predicted, Tai Min replied. Their newest space probes have already reached the outer planets. The cloaking system won't fool them forever. Outside their viewport, Earth continued its eternal dance around its star. Night fell across continents, and pinpricks of light revealed vast urban networks. The humans had conquered darkness, tamed rivers, built cities in deserts and on mountains and beneath the seas. "Did you read the latest biology report?" Jun-Ho asked. "Their bodies are remarkable. Their bones would be considered abnormally dense on most Council worlds. Their immune systems attack foreign bodies with incredible efficiency, and their ability to recover from injury." Tai Min nodded. A Council medical officer would pronounce most human surgical patients dead on arrival. Yet they survive operations that split open their chest cavities or remove entire organs. The observation post's data archives contained millions of hours of footage. Humans giving birth in conditions that would horrify medical professionals throughout the galaxy. Humans deliberately jumping from great heights with nothing but fabric wings. Humans diving into crushing ocean depths. Humans climbing frozen mountains without breathing equipment. "The Council fears them," Jun-Ho said quietly. "That's why we're still here, still watching. They fear what creatures from this world might do if they joined galactic society. Tai Min zoomed out, taking in the entire planet again. With good reason. Look at the historical simulations. Every council species evolved in environments with natural limitations. The Avari evolved in low gravity, so they never needed to develop strong bodies. The Lumerians lived on a world with few pathogens, so they have minimal immune defenses. And humans had to overcome everything. Junho finished. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, radiation, toxic substances. They faced it all and survived. A soft chime indicated a transmission from Council headquarters. Tai Min opened the message and quickly scanned it. The High Committee is concerned about the newest human space mission, he said. The vessel they're building in orbit is their largest yet. It has life support systems and appears designed for long-duration flight. They're planning to explore beyond their system, Junho said, voice tight with concern. The Council has ordered increased surveillance. They're sending additional personnel and equipment. Junho looked troubled. First contact protocols may need to be activated soon. Are we ready for that? Are they? Tai Min stared at the view screen. A new day was dawning over a continent where millions of humans were waking, going about their lives, unaware of being observed from above. Soon, very soon, that would change. They've survived everything their world has thrown at them, Tai Min said. They've survived themselves. Their history is one of constant adaptation to threat and challenge. And now they're looking outward, Junho added. On one of the secondary monitors, a news broadcast showed the latest human space vessel under construction. Its size dwarfed previous human efforts. Engineers in primitive spacesuits crawled across its surface like tiny insects. The question isn't whether we're ready for them, Tai Min said, his voice barely above a whisper. It's whether the galaxy is ready for humans. A new alert sounded, urgent and unfamiliar. Both observers turned to the warning display. Human detection systems have locked onto our position, Junho said, voice rising. They've spotted us. Tai Min's hands flew across the control panel, strengthening cloaking field, adjusting orbit. But the alert continued. On the screen, a small human vessel changed course, turning directly toward their observation post. Too late, Junho said. They're coming to investigate. Tai Min took a deep breath. Contact the Council immediately. It's happening sooner than we expected. He looked once more at the blue planet below, the homeworld of creatures who had mastered a planet that should have killed them. Creatures now reaching for the stars. The Deathworlders are coming, he whispered. And the galaxy will never be the same. The horizon drifted silently through space, its engines powered down to minimal output. Captain Deho stared through the forward viewport at the strange object that had appeared seemingly from nowhere just 20 minutes earlier. Sensor readings confirmed, sir, said Officer Jai-1 from the science station. It wasn't there, and then suddenly it was. Some kind of advanced cloaking technology. The object was smooth and oval-shaped, with no visible propulsion systems or external features. It simply hung in space about 2,000 kilometers away, reflecting the distant sunlight. Any response to our hails? Daho asked. Communications Officer Minji shook her head. Nothing yet, Captain. The Horizon had been on a routine mission to survey the far side of the moon when their sensors detected an anomalous energy spike. By the time they arrived to investigate, the strange vessel had revealed itself. Wait, Minji said suddenly, her hand going to her earpiece. We're receiving something. The main screen flickered to life, showing a being unlike anything the crew had ever seen. It had blue-tinged skin, large eyes, and a narrow face. When it spoke, its mouth moved differently than a human's would. Greetings, people of Earth. I am Observer Ta Min of the Galactic Council. We mean you no harm. After several stunned seconds, Daho found his voice. This is Captain Daho of the Earth Space Administration vessel Horizon. We welcome you. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Director Hansu of the Earth Space Administration had been awakened at 3 a.m. by a call that would change human history forever. "Is this confirmed?" he asked, staring at the images on his tablet as his driver rushed him toward headquarters. "Yes, sir," his assistant replied over the phone. "The Horizon made contact 2 hours ago. The alien vessel, they call it an observation post, has maintained communication since then." Within hours, the ESA headquarters was swarming with government officials, military personnel, and hastily summoned experts in various fields. Hansu sat at the head of the conference table, surrounded by faces showing mixtures of excitement, fear, and disbelief. "They've been watching us," said Subin, the linguistics expert who had been analyzing the communications. "For centuries, apparently." "Watching us?" General Yujin asked sharply. "For what purpose?" Subin adjusted her glasses. "They say they're part of something called the Galactic Council, a federation of species from different star systems. Earth is under their observation program for what they term pre-contact species." The room erupted in overlapping questions until Hansu raised his hand for silence. "What do they want?" he asked. "They say the discovery of their observation post has forced them to initiate formal contact procedures," Subin replied. "They've requested a face-to-face meeting." 2 days later, Ambassador Kehoe led a small delegation aboard the ESA's newest shuttle, climbing toward a rendezvous point near lunar orbit. The trip was conducted in relative silence, each delegate lost in their own thoughts about what awaited them. "I've practiced diplomacy for 30 years, Kehoe said to Dr. Yunji, the xenobiologist seated beside him. "First contact scenarios were theoretical exercises. Now we're living it," she finished, looking out the viewport at the stars. "Everything changes today." The alien vessel grew larger in their view. It had expanded somehow, revealing docking ports and illuminated sections that weren't visible before. "They're directing us to the marked bay," the pilot announced, his voice steady despite the historic nature of his task. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud. After the airlock cycled, the delegation stepped into a corridor with strange proportions, slightly too tall, slightly too narrow for human comfort. They were met by 3 beings. The one in the center stepped forward. "I am Council Representative Tu Yun. Welcome aboard our diplomatic vessel." Kehoe noticed the aliens kept a careful distance. Their movements were graceful but cautious, as if they were approaching something potentially dangerous. The delegation was led to a large room with a table of unfamiliar material. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal. The air had an unfamiliar scent, clean but different. After formal introductions, Du Yun activated a display showing Earth. "Your world has been under observation since your early industrial period," he explained. "It is standard procedure for the Council. We monitor developing species until they achieve interstellar capabilities, or destroy themselves," added one of the other aliens. Kehoe leaned forward slightly. "You expected us to destroy ourselves." Du Yun's large eyes blinked slowly. "Your survival defies classification. Earth is what we call a deathworld. Most species would perish within hours of exposure." Kehoe smiled. "We just call it home." He extended his hand in the traditional Earth greeting. The aliens visibly flinched, drawing back slightly. "Forgive us," Du Yun said quickly. "We have been thoroughly briefed on human physiology. Your natural resilience is remarkable." "Is that why you kept your distance?" Dr. Yunji asked. "You're afraid of us." Du Yun's skin shifted color slightly, a blush or an expression of discomfort. "You understand," he said carefully. "Many Council species find your adaptations concerning." "Concerning?" Kehoe asked. "Your bones would be considered armor on many Council worlds," explained Du Yun. "Your immune systems are extraordinarily aggressive. Your muscle density, your tolerance for temperature extremes, your ability to consume substances toxic to most life forms." The delegation exchanged glances. They had never considered themselves particularly tough or resilient. And then there is your psychology, continued Du Yun. Your species emerged from an environment of constant threat. Yet you developed art, music, philosophy. You turned competitive instincts towards sports rather than constant warfare. Most Deathworld species remain locked in cycles of violence. We have our share of violence, Keiho acknowledged. Yet you overcome it, repeatedly, Du Yun said. This is unprecedented in our records. The meeting continued for hours. The humans learned of dozens of other species, of faster-than-light travel, of technologies beyond Earth's current understanding. The aliens learned of human culture, social structures, and aspirations. As the delegation prepared to return to Earth, Du Yun presented Keiho with a small device. This contains basic information about the Galactic Council, a gesture of good faith. Keiho accepted it carefully. And what happens now? Now, Du Yun said, formal relations begin. A council diplomatic mission will arrive within your month. There will be much to discuss, including our classification as a Deathworld species. Keiho asked with a slight smile. Du Yun's eyes narrowed slightly. That classification cannot change, but perhaps our understanding of what it means will. As the shuttle departed, Keiho watched the alien vessel grow smaller in the viewport. Earth hung in space below them, beautiful and blue. They've been watching us for centuries, Dr. Yunji said quietly, expecting us to fail. Keiho nodded. And now they'll have to watch us succeed, up close. The massive shipyard hung in Jupiter's orbit, a sprawling complex of construction bays, docking ports, and habitat modules. Ships of various designs moved slowly through designated flight paths, their running lights blinking against the backdrop of space. The gas giant loomed large in the background, its swirling storms visible from every viewport. Heiyun adjusted her magnetic boots as she led Council Observer Jinwoo along the observation deck. 5 years after first contact, this joint human council facility represented the most visible symbol of cooperation between Earth and the galactic community. Watch your step here, Heiyun warned as they approached a construction area. The artificial gravity fluctuates near the new testing chambers. Jinwoo moved carefully, his slender frame and blue-tinged skin standing out among the human workers. His large eyes took in everything with obvious fascination. This shipyard did not exist 2 years ago, he said. The speed of your construction is unsettling. Heiyun smiled. When humans need something built, we build it. We don't know any other way. They stopped at a viewport overlooking the main construction bay. Below them, a ship hull was taking shape. Unlike the smooth, rounded designs favored by council engineers, this vessel featured angular reinforcements and visible structural supports. The reinforced hull design increases structural integrity by 340%, Heiyun explained, pointing to the latticework pattern. We adapted techniques from deep-sea submersibles. Jinwoo blinked slowly, his species equivalent of showing surprise. Remarkable. No one thought to apply pressure principles from aquatic environments to space vessels. On Earth, we live with crushing ocean pressures. We built machines to withstand those conditions. Space has different challenges, but the principles transfer well. A team of workers passed by, 3 humans and 2 Terrasi, one of the council species that had embraced collaboration with Earth. The Terrasi, with their 4 arms and copper-colored skin, had become common sights in human space facilities. Your people think differently, Jinwoo observed. You see connections where others do not. Heiyun led him to the next section, where engine components were being assembled. Human and alien engineers huddled around display screens, arguing good-naturedly about design modifications. That's Chol-min, Heiyun said, nodding toward a human engineer gesturing emphatically. He combined council plasma containment technology with Earth's thermal regulation systems. The result is an engine 30% more efficient than previous designs. The Council Science Division required 6 months to verify his calculations, Jinwoo said. They didn't believe such efficiency was possible. Chul Min grew up in a region prone to devastating floods. His family lost everything 3 times. He learned to make limited resources work better than they should. Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. Adversity as a driver of innovation. This is a pattern with your species. They continued their tour, passing through laboratories where materials testing was underway and simulation rooms where pilots trained on new navigation systems. Everywhere, humans worked alongside various council species, the initial awkwardness of their differences giving way to productive collaboration. Not everyone in the council supports this integration, Jinwoo said carefully as they entered a quieter section. The XLRE delegation has filed another formal protest. They believe humans should be restricted to their own system. Hae-yun nodded. She was well aware of the political tensions. And what do you believe, Observer Jinwoo? I believe. He paused, choosing his words carefully. That fear is natural when confronted with something new. But knowledge overcomes fear, eventually. A soft chime from Hae-yun's communicator interrupted them. She checked the message and frowned slightly. I need to attend to something. Would you mind waiting here? I won't be long. Jinwoo gestured acceptance, and Hae-yun hurried away. She entered a secure communication booth and activated the privacy shield. Director Sang-hoon's face appeared on the screen. Progress report, he asked without preamble. Phase 1 is proceeding on schedule, Hae-yun replied. The council delegation is impressed with the shipyard operations. They suspect nothing about the Mars facility. Sang-hoon nodded. Good. The Exodus project needs more time. The council cannot learn of our plans until we're ready. Observer Jinwoo asks many questions, Hae-yun warned. He's more perceptive than most council representatives. Tell him what he expects to hear. Show him what he expects to see. After the call ended, Hae-yun took a moment to compose herself before returning to Jinwoo. The weight of her secret knowledge felt heavy. On Mars, far from council observers, Director Sang-hoon oversaw the true future of humanity. Not just improved ships, but vessels capable of carrying thousands of humans beyond council space. Jinwoo was examining a display of Earth's oceans when she returned. Your world is 71% water, he noted. My species evolved on a planet with only small seas. We never developed the technologies to explore ocean depths. The Mariana Trench is deeper than Mount Everest is tall, Hae-yun said. We built vessels to reach the bottom, where the pressure would crush most council spacecraft. And now you adapt these principles to space travel. Jinwoo turned to face her directly. I reviewed the medical reports from the Nolvian colony. Your surgical techniques saved over 3,000 lives during the viral outbreak. Hae-yun nodded. The Earth medical team had developed treatments based on centuries of fighting diseases on their own planet. The council health systems were designed for stable environments, she explained. Earth's pathogens mutate constantly. We had to develop adaptable responses. Not just in medicine, Jinwoo observed. Your agricultural methods have been implemented on 3 worlds previously suffering from food shortages. The Terasi High Council has formally requested Earth specialists to redesign their planetary farming systems. They resumed their tour, reaching a testing area where a new spacesuit design was being demonstrated. Unlike the bulky Council environmental suits, the human version was sleek and flexible. Council suits focus on creating perfect internal environments, Hae-yun explained. Our approach accepts that conditions will never be perfect. We design for adaptation rather than isolation. Jinwoo watched as the test subject bent and twisted, showing the suit's range of motion. Your species embraces imperfection, he said. This is not how the Council approaches problems. Earth taught us that perfect solutions rarely exist. We look for what works, not what's ideal. As their tour concluded, Jinwoo paused at a final viewport, looking out at Jupiter's swirling clouds. The official council report will note the technological advancements and productive collaboration, he said. It will not capture the philosophical differences I've observed today. Hae-yun stood beside him. And what differences are those? Council species evolved in environments that rewarded specialization and stability. Humans evolved in conditions that demanded constant adaptation. You don't just build differently, you think differently. He turned to face her. Some council members fear this difference. Others, like the Taurasi and Nolvians, recognize its value. The coming years will determine which view prevails. Haeyun nodded, thinking of the secret projects on Mars. Yes, they will. Ambassador Minho stood before the curved table of the Galactic Council chamber, his heart beating quickly despite his calm exterior. The chamber was designed to impress and intimidate, a vast circular room with soaring ceilings and seats arranged in rising tiers. Representatives of 37 spacefaring species watched him with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. He had just finished presenting humanity's most ambitious plan. A holographic display behind him showed rotating images of massive ships unlike anything the Council had seen before. To summarize, Minho said, his voice steady, the Exodus project will construct 200 generation ships. Each vessel will support 50,000 humans for multiple centuries of interstellar travel. The chamber remained silent. Minho could hear the soft hum of the environmental systems. 3 decades of diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council had not prepared him for this moment. Councillor Jaewon of the Nolvian Confederation finally broke the silence. His copper-colored skin gleamed under the chamber lights as he leaned forward. You propose to spread a Deathworld species throughout the galaxy? Jaewon asked. Many council members will consider this an existential threat. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Minho had expected this reaction. We understand your concerns, he replied. But humanity seeks new horizons, not conquests. Our ships will travel to uninhabited systems, far from established council territories. The Axolari representative rose to his feet, his scaled skin flushing a deep red. Unacceptable. Humans must remain contained to their system. Your physiological adaptations make you too dangerous to roam freely among civilized species. We've worked alongside council species for 30 years, Minho countered. Has humanity shown itself to be a threat? Your technology advances too quickly, said a Cetari diplomat, her tentacles waving in agitation. Your integration of council science with your own innovations has produced results that disturb many members. Minho gestured to the holographic display, which now showed humans and aliens working together at various facilities across the solar system. Those innovations have benefited all species. Human medical techniques have saved millions of council lives. Our agricultural methods have ended famines on 3 worlds. And your military applications? Asked the Axolari. The hull designs that withstand impacts that would destroy our vessels. The weapons systems that operate in conditions no council species could survive to use. Minho took a deep breath. Humanity has shared all technological developments openly, as required by our treaty. We have withheld nothing. This wasn't entirely true. The Mars facility operated under special protocols, and certain aspects of the Exodus project remained classified. But the core technology had been shared. The Council must vote on this matter, declared the High Speaker, a Lumerian whose translucent skin revealed the pulsing of internal organs. A species-wide migration of this scale requires formal approval. With respect, Minho said, Earth is not a council member world. We have cooperative status only. The Exodus project will proceed regardless of the vote. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Some called for sanctions, others for military intervention. A few voices supported Earth's right to self-determination. Minho stood firm as the storm of reaction swirled around him. His presentation complete, he was escorted from the chamber by security personnel. In the antechamber, his assistant waited with news from Earth. The first ship's superstructure is complete, she reported. Chief Engineer Hyunwoo reports all systems are functioning within parameters. Minho nodded. And the Council's reaction? As expected, emergency sessions have been called. The Axolari and Cetari delegations are demanding containment measures. And our allies? The Taurasi and Nolvians are advocating for compromise. The others are waiting to see which way the political winds blow. Minho looked out a viewport at the artificial landscape of the Council's orbital headquarters. Then we proceed as planned. Back on Earth, Chief Engineer Hyunwoo stood in the main control center of the Seoul Launch Complex. Screens surrounded him, showing various aspects of the massive construction project in orbit. The first-generation ship, named New Horizon, was taking shape. Its frame already dominated Earth orbit, visible even from the surface as a bright star moving across the night sky. Power distribution network at 87% completion, reported a technician. Life support systems beginning preliminary testing cycle. Hyunwoo nodded, studying the readouts. 30 years of preparation had led to this moment. The Mars facility had developed the key technologies in secret, while public facilities like the Jupiter shipyard had served as both productive worksites and effective distractions. His daughter, Mi-jin, entered the control center carrying fresh coffee. At 24, she was one of the youngest engineers on the project. Ambassador Minho has completed his presentation to the council, she said, handing him a mug. It's going exactly as you predicted. Hyunwoo sipped the hot liquid. Fear is a predictable response. The council species evolved in gentle environments. They cannot understand why we would choose to leave our home. They fear us because they don't understand us, Mi-jin said. Hyunwoo nodded, looking at the main screen where the massive ship slowly rotated. We don't leave Earth because we want to conquer. We leave because exploration is part of who we are. He led his daughter to a quieter corner of the control center. The council sees our ships and imagines weapons. They cannot comprehend that we've designed them as arcs, as gardens, as libraries, vessels to carry not just our bodies but our cultures. The construction feeds showed workers in spacesuits moving across the hull of New Horizon. Inside, other teams were installing hydroponic systems, educational facilities, art galleries, and recreation areas. How many humans have volunteered? Mi-jin asked. More than we can accommodate, Hyunwoo replied. The selection process is ongoing. Each ship needs a balanced population: scientists, artists, teachers, farmers. His communication device chimed. The caller was Director Sang-hoon from the Mars facility. The council's reaction. Sang-hoon asked without preamble. Exactly as anticipated, Hyunwoo replied. They're calling emergency sessions and military options being discussed, according to our sources. The Xalari are particularly vocal. Sang-hoon's expression remained neutral. The defense systems will be ready. Not that we intend to use them. After ending the call, Hyunwoo returned to the main control area. New alerts were coming in. Council observation vessels had changed position, moving closer to Earth. Military assets were being mobilized in neighboring systems. Should we be concerned? Mi-jin asked, noticing the alerts. Hyunwoo shook his head. This is why we built the ships to function independently. This is why we designed them to withstand extreme conditions. The Council may attempt to prevent our departure, but they will not succeed. Outside, the sun was setting over Seoul. Hyunwoo looked out at the city skyline, the familiar landmarks of his home. Soon, views like this would exist only in digital archives and human memory. Tomorrow, he said quietly, we announce the selection results. 1 million humans will know they are leaving Earth forever. To find new homes, Mi-jin said. New Earths. New beginnings, Hyunwoo corrected. Not replacements for what we leave behind. As darkness fell, the first stars became visible. Somewhere among them, humanity would forge its future, with or without the Council's blessing. Rain fell steadily on the viewing platform high in the Himalayan mountains. The clouds parted occasionally, revealing snow-capped peaks stretching into the distance. High Counselor Yuna pulled her environmental suit tighter around her slender frame. Despite its advanced technology, she still felt the cold and dampness of Earth's atmosphere. Are you comfortable, High Counselor? President Ju-won asked, noticing her discomfort. I am adjusting, Yuna replied. Her large eyes blinked against the rain. "Your world is intense." A golden eagle soared between the mountain peaks, riding air currents with spread wings. Yuna watched it with fascination. "This is what shaped you," she said to President Ju-won. "Such beauty amid such danger. One cannot exist without the other," the president replied. "The challenges of Earth taught us to adapt, to innovate, and to appreciate the fragile moments of peace." Yuna had served on the Galactic Council for over 40 years, but this was her first visit to Earth. After decades of debate about human expansion, she had decided to see this Deathworld for herself before the first Exodus ship departed. "Most Council species evolved on worlds with stable climates and few predators," she said. "My own people lived in harmony with our environment for thousands of years before developing space travel, while we fought our environment every step of the way," Ju-won acknowledged. "And now you leave it behind." The president shook his head. "Not behind. We carry Earth with us. You'll see." Their transport arrived, a sleek vessel that would take them to the orbital station where Horizon I awaited. As they ascended through the atmosphere, Earth's curvature became visible. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown landmasses. "Beautiful and terrible," Yuna murmured. "A world of extremes." In orbit, Horizon I dominated the view. The generation ship was enormous, 5 kilometers long and built in sections like a giant cylinder. It rotated slowly, creating gravity for its inhabitants. "It will carry 50,000 humans," explained Chief Engineer Hyunwoo, who met them at the docking port. "The journey to the Tau Ceti system will take approximately 87 years. Meaning most who depart will never see their destination," Yuna observed. "Their children and grandchildren will," Hyunwoo said. "We build for the future, not just for ourselves." The council delegation followed Hyunwoo through the ship's main access corridor. Other council members had sent representatives as well, some out of diplomatic courtesy, others to gather intelligence on human capabilities. "The outer hull contains multiple layers of protection," Hyunwoo explained, "against radiation, micrometeorites, and other space hazards. The design is based on principles we developed for deep-sea exploration vessels." "Your obsession with redundant systems seems excessive," noted a Centauri representative. "On Earth, systems fail," Hyunwoo replied simply. "We plan for failure so we can survive it." They entered the main habitat section, and Yuna stopped in surprise. Instead of the sterile, utilitarian environment she expected, they stood at the edge of a forest. Trees stretched upward toward a simulated sky. A stream bubbled over rocks. Children played on a grassy hill nearby. "You've recreated Earth," Yuna observed, watching the children laughing as they rolled down the slope. Chief Engineer Hyunwoo smiled. "We carry our home with us, even as we seek new ones." The tour continued, revealing the ship's multiple habitat zones, forests, grasslands, even a small desert environment. Between these natural spaces were living quarters, schools, workshops, and research facilities. "Where are the weapons systems?" asked a Solari observer bluntly. "Horizon II is not a warship," Hyunwoo replied. "It carries defensive capabilities only. A vessel of this size could be converted for military purposes," the Solari insisted. "It could also be a museum or a hospital," Hyunwoo countered. "Its purpose is determined by intent, not capacity." They reached the command center, where final preparations for departure were underway. Screens displayed system checks and navigation calculations. Through the viewports, Earth hung beautiful and blue against the blackness of space. 199 more such vessels will follow, President Ju-won said, each carrying a different cross-section of humanity, different cultures, languages, specialties. "We are not abandoning Earth. We are spreading its legacy among the stars." After the tour, Yuna requested a private meeting with the president and chief engineer. Her fellow council representatives returned to their vessel to prepare their reports. "I have seen enough," she said when they were alone. The Council has misunderstood humanity's intentions. Many still fear us, Ju-1 said. With reason, Yu-not admitted. Your physiological adaptations, your technological innovation rate, your ability to thrive in hostile conditions, these traits could make you dangerous competitors. Or valuable allies, Hyunwoo suggested. Yu-not nodded slowly. Indeed, my recommendation to the Council will reflect this perspective. 2 days later, as the 50,000 humans selected for the first journey settled into their new home, the final countdown began. Horizon IU's massive engines prepared for activation. Smaller vessels kept a respectful distance, broadcasting the historic moment. In the Council emergency session, High Counselor Yuna stood before her peers. I have walked on Earth. I have felt its rain, its gravity, its wild beauty, she told them. I have seen what such a world creates, beings of remarkable resilience, creativity, and determination. The chamber was silent as she continued. The classification of Earth as a dangerous death world is accurate but incomplete. I propose a new designation, Crucible of Innovation. Humans are not leaving their world to conquer, but to discover, to carry life to places where none exists. The debate lasted hours, but in the end, the vote was decisive. Human expansion would not be opposed but celebrated as the next chapter in galactic history. As Horizon I activated its engines and began its journey to distant stars, a message arrived from the Council. The galaxy will be stronger with humanity among the stars. Safe travels. On the bridge, President Ju-1 read the message aloud to the assembled crew. Cheers erupted throughout the ship, echoed by celebrations on Earth and the other vessels under construction. Chief Engineer Hyunwoo stood at a viewport, watching Earth grow smaller as they accelerated. His daughter Maijin joined him, her eyes filled with tears of both sadness and hope. We carry it with us, she said, touching the viewport glass. Everything it taught us, and we find new lessons among the stars, Hyunwoo replied. Behind them, the garden sections hummed with life. Plants growing, water flowing, children playing. The art galleries displayed humanity's greatest creations. The libraries held their collective knowledge. The laboratories promised new discoveries. Earth had shaped humanity through challenge and hardship, through beauty and danger. Now humanity would shape new worlds, carrying the legacy of their death world home to distant stars. Not as conquerors, but as explorers, creators, and dreamers. As the blue dot of Earth finally vanished from view, Horizon I accelerated toward the future, the first of many vessels carrying the children of Earth to new horizons.